Over 4,000 years ago, ancient Egyptians were already writing contraception recipes on papyrus. They understood how pregnancy began, and they wanted control over it. Across Egypt, Greece, and Rome, physicians prescribed everything from acacia and honey to olive oil and animal dung pastes used as early internal barriers. Some of these recipes were pure superstition. But modern scientists have since tested several, and a few actually worked. The history of birth control is older, stranger, and smarter than almost anyone realizes. In the next few minutes, you'll discover which of these ancient methods actually held up under a microscope, the plant an empire loved so much it harvested it into extinct Tyon, and how this knowledge was nearly erased from human memory altogether. To understand how far back this really goes, start with a historian named John Riddle at North Carolina State University. In his book, Eve's Herbs, published by Harvard in 1997, Riddle made an argument that unsettled a lot of people. Ancient women were never helpless in the face of pregnancy. They had a whole pharmacy of plants and techniques to control it, and a surprising amount of it actually worked. The wish itself is older than any empire. The Greek physician Cyrannus, writing nearly 2,000 years ago, devoted entire chapters to preventing conception. He told women which substances to use, when to use them, even how to move their bodies afterward to lower the odds. This wasn't whispered or shameful. It sat in the medical mainstream of the ancient world. People wanted to choose when they had children, and they chased that goal with real deliberate effort, long before anyone had ever seen a sperm or an egg. The oldest hard proof is a single, fragile scroll. In 1889, the archaeologist Flinders Petrie unearthed it at a site called Kahun in Egypt. Dated to around 1850 BC, the Kahun Gynecological Papyrus is the oldest known medical text devoted entirely to women's health. Of its 34 sections, 3 are recipes to prevent pregnancy. The first is the infamous one: crocodile dung mixed with fermented dough, shaped into a pessary, and used as a barrier. Another is a paste of honey and natron, a natural salt. They sound ridiculous until you test them. Natron is alkaline and hostile to sperm. The dough formed a physical plug at the cervix. Honey, thick and sticky, slowed sperm and fought infection all at once. Then, around 1550 BC, came the Ebers Papyrus, with a tampon of lint soaked in honey and acacia. Here's the part that should stop you. When acacia ferments, it releases lactic acid, one of the exact spermicides still sold in contraceptive gels right now. Cyrannus added another. The Romans swore by a plug soaked in olive oil, which slows sperm down. Picture it for a second. A doctor 4,000 years ago, with no microscope and no idea a cell existed, reached for the exact same chemistry your pharmacy stocks right now. For a long time, scholars waved all of this away. The standard view was that ancient people were superstitious, that these were magic spells, not medicine, that ordinary people barely understood how pregnancy worked, let alone how to stop it. Riddle turned that assumption inside out. He argued the recipes weren't superstition at all. Many were pharmacological real, and modern lab tests keep proving him right, like the acacia and its lactic acid. Then, he pointed to something hard to dismiss. The birth rate in ancient Greece dropped over the centuries from about 5 children per woman down to roughly 3. Something was driving those numbers down, not chastity. The ancients were not shy about that. The simplest explanation was the one historians had refused to take seriously. These people knew how to limit births, and they were doing it. Not everyone accepts how far Riddle pushed the idea. Historians like Helen King have challenged his bolder claims, but the core held ancient contraception was a real body of knowledge, not a bundle of old wives' tales. And one plant turned that knowledge into an empire's fortune. It was called Silphium, a giant fennel, that grew in exactly one place on Earth, the hills around Cyrene in North Africa. Ancient writers swore by its sap. Cyrannus told women to take a dose, the size of a chickpea, once a month. Pliny the Elder called it one of nature's most precious gifts. Demand grew so fierce that Cyrene became one of the richest cities of its world and stamped the plant onto its coins. Honestly, look at Silphium seed pod, right here. It's a perfect heart. Some historians think the shape you scribble on love notes began as the logo of an ancient birth control plant. The most romantic symbol you know may be a fennel seed for not getting pregnant. But Silphium had one fatal flaw. Nobody could farm it. It grew only wild, in that single strip of land. So the plant the ancient world couldn't get enough of was harvested, year after year, until it was gone. Likely the first species we ever drove to extinction through sheer human demand, and the search didn't stop with Greece and Egypt. Centuries later, the Persian physician al-Razi cataloged his own methods: withdrawal, barriers, pessaries of everything from cabbage to pitch. Across language, religion, and empire, people kept reaching the same conclusion. When a child entered the world, should be something you could decede. Then, the knowledge faded. What physicians and midwives once taught openly was slowly pushed into the shadows, recast as witchcraft, criminalized, forgotten. So the next time you think of birth control as a modern invention, remember the scroll at Cahun. You are the latest link in a chain that runs back through Riddle's lost herbs, through a plant an empire loved to death, all the way to an Egyptian physician. Pressing a recipe into papyrus, 1800 years before Rome existed, the tools got safer, the chemistry got precise. But the impulse, the simple human wish to decide when life begins, is one of the oldest things our species has ever reached for. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more deep dives into the forgotten past. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next chapter.